Hello and welcome to Spook House Radio. We are live again. How you doing, Ryan?
I am fantastic.
And we've
glad to be here once again.
Yeah, and we've got Megan with us, which is pretty neat since we're going on a Thursday night.
Hey.
That is what you get. That's what you get when we have her. So we've got a pretty interesting show tonight. We've had a hell of a time trying to pull the thing together, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's aliens working against us or what's going on, but we've had cables go out and calls drop. We had Twitter go down. I'm not going to say we caused that. No conspiracies here, but Twitter would not take our post. But there are other things. Go ahead.
Or someone or something doesn't want our message out tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't like what we're going to say, so it's shutting it down. But I first want to say that I'm very saddened to hear of the passing of Chris Cornell, Soundgarden's frontman, much too soon, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a shame because recently I've seen him, doing acoustic shows and stuff, and it's really neat. I don't know. It's a shame. That's all you can say about it.
Absolutely.
Is that it's just a huge shame, unfortunately. Yeah, so. Well, there are other things on the agenda, as sad as that is, to begin our show. The biggest thing is we're going to talk about aliens and their theories of what's up with that. Ryan, you go ahead. You picked the subject tonight, so go ahead and talk about it. And what are people going to be doing, listening to?
Well, I thought we'd talk about specifically, where do we think they come from? Why are they here? What is their agenda?
That is a great question.
What is so interesting about Earth that would draw you, thousands of light years across space to visit? Some people may think that we are,
True. Yeah.
I guess that's pretty interesting that, there's a species on this planet that's advanced as we are, but on the other hand, maybe we're really not that advanced. But when we tackle that subject, we'll talk more about that. Yeah,
we sure will. There may be more on the agenda, as a matter of fact, but we haven't decided yet. It depends on really how lengthy this turns out with the aliens, because I know Ryan's got. He's got a lot of theories. I think we're going to probably stick mostly to that one tonight. But Megan's got, if nothing else, she's got interest in it. Lots of interest.
Yes, I certainly do.
I don't know about theories, but lots of interest. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and move on to the news and get this thing started before something happens and we go off air. Ryan, you go ahead. You picked the first most interesting news story this evening, so you go ahead and let us have it.
All right, so this kind of goes hand in hand with our alien theme tonight.
Awesome.
Let's see. This happened earlier this month, in May. Apparently, during the live feed of the International Space Station, a mysterious flying disc-shaped UFO was captured during the live feed.
Okay.
This was, I actually saw the video of it. It's really interesting. If you want to see the video yourself, the account name is Secure Team 10, and they uploaded the video of that footage on May 13th. So definitely check that out.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing in this video is a shot of the outside of the space station looking down upon the Earth, and a shot of one of the solar panels. A traditional, saucer-shaped, unidentified flying object kind of hovers out from behind that solar panel, and then it looks like it just kind of speeds off into space. It just kind of fades away. So NASA has claimed that it's just kind of a trick of the light on the camera lens.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's very, when you look at the video, it's clearly a three-dimensional object, and there's nothing else going on with light sources or anything like that. No, I think if it was, something going on with the camera, you would see other kind of artifacts going on.
Yeah, makes sense.
What else is interesting about this is this was actually reported on the Fox News webpage as well. They kind of mentioned it as well.
Last week we came with the CIA, and this week Fox News. We're coming from reputable sources.
Yeah. So, I'm not a big fan of Fox News, but I thought that was interesting that one of the major networks kind of picked up on this too and did a little piece on it.
Yeah.
It's interesting that there have been a lot of these sightings during the live feed of the International Space Station. And NASA usually plays it off as, just some debris in space or artifacts on the camera. What's peculiar about that is that whenever something comes into view, something mysterious UFO-like, they tend to cut their feed a lot.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. There's always a mysterious 20 seconds or 5 minutes that just gets gone from their live feed. Like, oh, nothing to see here,
Yeah, and that's too convenient for them,
Absolutely.
Obviously, there was never anything there. We were having technical difficulties.
Right, it's ran for the last 763 days solid, but today it decided to go down for a few seconds. Yep. You didn't miss anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what's funny too? I'm sorry. I want to say about this story. I didn't tell Megan what your story was, what your news was, and she went and found the same story.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of neat, actually.
Yeah, I actually wanted to make a comment on your story. I saw in one of the articles it said somebody commented that it seemed like it knew there was a camera on it as it kind of just backed away. And it looked like something that was sneaky and like just backing up, like a dog that got in trouble or something, trying to sneak away.
Yeah,
like you didn't even see me.
So when the object kind of fades out, it does it kind of slow.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slow fade and then it's gone. But if you think about the perspective and the distance in space, how far it would have to move back to disappear from the light source.
Yeah.
That object's moving incredibly fast unless you want to get into now there was another sighting recently where people believe that a craft moved into the view of the camera and then initiated some kind of like cloaking device or something. It was like a cylindrical shaped UFO. It's actually moving towards the space station, and as it gets closer, it becomes more transparent, and then finally disappears.
Wow, that's cool.
As it comes closer, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's actually moving towards the space station, towards the camera.
Huh.
And then it becomes transparent, and then it disappears.
That's really cool.
Now, speaking again on the where they would cut their feed and things like that. There's another video, and you can find this on Secure Team 10's YouTube channel as well. I think this was posted back in April. There's just a video of an astronaut performing routine maintenance on the station itself, and he's messing around with some kind of gadget out there in space. You see another object zips through the video feed. It flies through there pretty fast, and it does a loop around, and it comes back in the view. And it seems like when he notices this object, he covers the camera with his hand.
Oh, well, that's convenient.
It's kind of strange because whatever he's working on, it kind of seems like I don't know if it's like a head-mounted cam or what, but the focus was on whatever he's working on. So it's kind of strange that he would just randomly reach for the camera on his head and cover it like that. So what do you think? is the upper atmosphere of our planet, is that like a highway of activity up there? Are there all kinds of UFOs just zipping around all the time? And
yeah, is it like the Jetsons where they're just kind of riding around? I mean, it sounds silly, and that's a cartoon, but you do wonder, is there?
So it brings about the question, why hide it?
Yeah.
What's the big deal there?
You know what? But I want to say, speaking on that specific point, is that a reason they might hide from us is, like when you observe, you don't want things to be unnatural, for one. You would want us to act naturally as we do. But for two, if what we believe is true, and that there was an alien crash in Roswell and whatnot and taking Area 51, then they've potentially seen what we would do with them, and they wouldn't really want that to happen again.
True.
Right, I can see that point.
Yeah, so.
I know we're in the news section right now, but it seems really relevant. I wanted to talk about tonight astronauts that have seen aliens and UFOs while out in space.
Can we actually
save that?
Yeah, can we stick that one for the main topic? Would you mind? Because
yeah, that's fine.
It can be considered kind of relevant, I think.
Okay.
It's about theories, and we're not going to get too broad because we don't want to burn you guys out, talking about aliens every week. We want to be pretty specific with our topics, but I think it kind of correlates with what we're going to talk about tonight.
Okay.
So if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. I just want to talk about it because it seemed relevant, but yeah, I'll still get to talk about it later.
Ryan, you picked a good news story. Got us talking. Go ahead, man. If there's anything else you want to say about it.
No, I think it'll kind of lead us to the main topic in a little bit.
I agree. Yeah.
It opens up a lot of questions. Like we were just talking about. Why hide that from the public?
Yeah.
What would be the danger of if they know about the existence of extraterrestrials or anything like that? Any kind of weird happenings in the upper atmosphere like that?
Yeah.
Why keep that from the public?
I guess I went more for why would the aliens hide it from us, but I don't know. You always make me think on both sides of everything.
It really it can really go both ways, and I'll kind of shelve this next thought for when we get to Megan's piece on the astronauts that have seen aliens too.
Well, then, Megan, you have some news. What is it, Proxima B, I believe?
I do. If everybody remembers, a little bit earlier this year, NASA came out with this big announcement that there is a couple of Earth-like planets orbiting around Proxima B, which is the closest star to Earth. And they pretty quickly tried to debunk, even though they called them Earth-like planets, they said that it couldn't hold alien life because of the torrents of X-ray and extreme ultraviolet radiation from super flares occurring roughly every 2 hours is what they estimated. But there is a new study that came out, and they're saying now that because of, the size of this star, it's a lot smaller than our star because it's a lot older. And even though they're really close, these planets are tidally locked, but there is a very big chance that they could support liquid water, which would be, critical for having life on another planet.
Mm-hmm.
They were also trying to examine how the climate would behave, because they do think it is a tidally locked planet. And it would have an orbit similar to Mercury, where it rotates on its axis for every, 3 times on its axis for every 2 orbits around the sun, and how that could affect the environment. But this did lead the researchers to the conclusion that if Proxima B's atmosphere is similar to ours here on Earth, it could support life.
Right on.
Mm.
And that's, you're talking about where aliens coming from. That's the closest possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely the closest. It is. That was very relevant. You get points for relevance.
Yes.
Relevance points. But no, seriously, if that's true, then they're a lot closer than we've been thinking.
Yeah, and this is something that's actually attainable to go to.
You know that we've always heard that, are they just checking us out to find out like if they could live here, and they could inhabit? Well, there you go. If those are plausible, man, we could be neighbors.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take nearly as much time to I don't know. And then it goes to the whole big question, do they want to interact with us? Is that why they abduct folks? I don't know. Again, I don't want to be too broad.
And say with neighbors, it seems like we're trying to check out each other's planets to see if it's, good real estate for ourselves.
We're going to take them a fruit basket and see what's going on.
Yeah. I made you a Jell-O mold, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, there's the theory too that we're all kind of part of like a galactic neighborhood, or there could be this I guess galactic alliance of extraterrestrial beings that are in a galactic community together, I guess is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And we could be in the review process to is the human species, are they ready to join us on the galactic scale?
So we're getting vetted to get on the Senate? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Uncle Sam wants you.
Kinda, yeah. Like, is this species at a good enough point in their evolution and at their level of technology to be accepted, amongst the community out here? Maybe that's one of the reasons we're being monitored.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Something to think about.
It is. Let me get my news out of the way, because all of this is very relevant to tonight. Theories and such. So I'm going to completely ruin the mood with a sort of ghost story. I'm going to destroy the momentum.
We like ghosts. we like ghosts here.
We do. All right.
Let's have some ghosts.
Just heads up that I'm destroying momentum. All right. So the reason I chose this one is because it's relevant to our area. Have you heard of the Phantom Hat Man?
No.
Yeah, well,
I've not.
Apparently he came to Virginia and he brought some noisy ghosts with him. So the report is that the Hat Man, who is a mysterious entity dressed in a long brimmed hat, continues to pour in from all over the world, and reports say that a guy actually met him in his childhood home in Virginia, and he has a story. I don't feel right about reading his story. He gave the rights to a site called weekendweird.com. If you want to head there, you can actually read his story. It's not too lengthy for those of you like myself who don't like to read and be prepared. But
can you give us a gist of what happened?
Yeah, I can give you the gist. Well, let me do this. So Odin, the sacral height of the Norse pantheon, he was known for wearing a wide-brimmed hat and visiting individuals to inspire them. So I just want to put that out there, that even though no one knows like what he is, the Phantom Hat Man, that's a really cool thing that kind of correlates. Honestly, if you think about it, that, I don't know, how cool would that be to think that this thing was I don't know, a Norse god or something.
I mean, that's pretty unreal.
Now that you mentioned the wide brim hat, I actually know an individual who can maybe tell us about an encounter.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Such a thing. Yeah. So
okay,
I'll speak to them and see if they can kind of enlighten us on the subject.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Say that,
go ahead. Sorry.
I will say that if Odin wants to inspire people, they probably need to work on being less terrifying.
Agreed. There's good ways to do it, and then there's the Odin way. I'll read a paragraph out of this. It's kind of the end, I think, the summation of the story. He says, "My family now believes that I saw something that night in 1969 because every night since that night, even before there were such things as podcasts or paranormal shows on television, I've always told people the story about the shadowy guy who stood in front of me. But now I know that it was the Hat Man, and I really did see him, and he really does appear to people in the night." So without giving his story away, because it is his, it is not mine, you need to once again go to weekinweird.com, and you can search Hatman and he'll be right there. It's a really interesting story, and apparently it's got grounds all over the world. I had never heard of it, and then I found that it was very local and tied to Odin, so I could not go there. You know, if you're gonna bust up the vibe of aliens, do it good.
Right.
Do it well. So I'll tell you what. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Everyone that's listening by themselves tonight, alone in their house, maybe you're not really alone. Maybe you'll be visited by the wide brim hat man tonight.
That's true. Maybe he'll inspire you.
Sleep well knowing that.
Some reassuring
He'll be
news.
watching over you.
There's nothing better than knowing that, is there?
Right.
Okay, so we're about to take a quick commercial break before we start our first topic, our topic we've already been touching on. But I want to say that on the website, midnightspookhouse.com, we've recently restored our forum, and it's got a really neat little profile system. You can attach all your Facebooks and Twitters and whatnot.
Your hashtags and your selfies.
Yes, your selfies and your hashtags, you kids. But no, it's really cool, and it's really easy. I actually set up today that you can join with your social networks, so you don't even have to, type anything. Just click the little...
Easy.
Yeah, that's easy. Tell them what's next, Ryan. But no, it really is simple, and it's safe, it's secure, it's fun. And there is also a Reach Us page on the website that if you have a story and you want to tell us, that would be an amazing place to do it, because it goes straight to Ryan and myself. So we could read it and, check it out and maybe get back in touch with you and talk about it on the air, possibly. Get you to show up, get you to talk about it, maybe. So I wanted to let you guys know about those couple of links. So midnightspookhouse.com. Just explore and find all the cool little... Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Get back in her. What was it, Tosh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tosh said that when somebody sneezes, he doesn't say bless you. He thinks it's the spirit leaving. So he says, get back in you. Well, hey, that kind of fits the mood, doesn't it? Yeah, go to the website, kind of browse around, and have a good time. I want to give a shout out to Delition. I think it's how you pronounce it, at Twitter. His name is at Delition_Hikari. And he actually made a great point, something that we couldn't think of, that we should give the time zone of when we go live. Who would think of that? I mean, really.
Same time everywhere, isn't it?
No, but he did, and he did us a solid. So thank you for that. And we will start mentioning that in new promos and such. But it's Eastern Standard Time, because we're in Tennessee and Virginia. So there is that, and we appreciate you again, man. That's really awesome of you. So let's take that quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll get to our main topic. See you guys in a minute. Hey guys, we go live every Friday night at midnight, and it's super easy to hang out with us. Go to mixler.com/spookhouse-radio, and you can also get us on the Play Store or on the App Store. So come hang out with us. You can also get us on Spookhouse Radio. And yes, we're back. We're back once more. So, tonight's topic, as we said before, is where do aliens come from? Is it another galaxy, another time, and what is their agenda for visiting us? Ryan, you spearheaded this little venture, so I'm going to go ahead and let you spearhead the talking about it.
All right, so you kind of started it there. Where do aliens come from? Now, most people, automatically assume that they are extraterrestrial in origin, meaning they, come from another world somewhere beyond our own.
Well, they come from space, Ryan. Isn't that what people tell you?
Absolutely. Case closed. That's it.
That's it. End of the show.
Yeah, when we think of aliens, we automatically associate them with space.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that entail? We haven't really observed anywhere in our immediate solar system that could harbor, life, especially, an industrialized species, with species with the capability to travel great distances in space with ease. If there was a huge civilization on one of our planets, we probably would have seen evidence of that by now.
Mm-hmm.
So then we assume, well, if they come from another galaxy, the next closest galaxy to us is the Andromeda galaxy, which is thousands and thousands of light years away. By today's standard of space travel, it would take thousands of years to reach the Andromeda galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
by our technology. So if you take that into account, it's pretty amazing to think that a species could travel that distance to our, galaxy, or our galaxy here in our solar system to observe us.
Yeah, I think
So
it's maybe
that's,
something people don't think about. If they can do that, what else are they capable of? But that's a question for later in this discussion.
Well, that's actually leading to my next point.
Okay,
So,
okay.
in a nutshell, that's usually what people assume of aliens and their flying saucers and other shaped vehicles. But what if there's a different side to it? What if, and this is a new theory that I've come upon recently and have kind of adopted. I think there may be a lot of merit to this. What if, rather than them being beings that are visiting us from another galaxy, what if they're from this galaxy, but from another time?
Hmm.
And what if rather than them being another species, what if they are actually a distant evolutionary stage of us? So the theory goes that perhaps these crafts, these visitors, are time travelers of our own species. So what I'm saying is, what we think of aliens, the gray-skinned, large, black-eyed,
Right.
what people refer to as grays. What if those are humans? Just a far removed, later evolutionary stage.
Yeah.
I mean, they are just so kind of conveniently similar, just bigger brains
Exactly.
and smaller bodies.
2 eyes, 2 nostrils, a mouth.
Yeah.
Bipedal. If you look at life, look at life on Earth and how diverse it is. How likely is it, for another, bipedal, humanoid-like creature to evolve someplace else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It could be very likely. I'm not sure, but we are, conveniently similar, as strange as grays look.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And your thought makes me think of I know we talked about this last time I was on the show, the ancient alien theories and how in some hieroglyphics in Egypt there's pictures that looks like astronauts and airplanes and things, and there's even some, I think, in the Nazca lines or in Peru or somewhere. There's some more images that look like modern day astronauts.
Right.
So that's not, I don't think it's too far fetched.
Yeah.
It could
No.
be,
not at all.
a different time of us or an evolvement of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as that theory stands, I mean, they could be visiting us at many different stages of our history. It's just in our current, stage, they choose not to be known directly, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So then that brings up the question, well, why visit our past? If you're, so advanced and can travel the stars,
It's to stop
assuming that they can,
Skynet.
if they're
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said it's to stop Skynet.
Oh, okay. Could be.
It's so we never invent the dream phone.
Well, now that you make that point about stopping Skynet, what if they are coming back to this time period to observe us and to maybe perhaps kind of police things if things get too out of control?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're descendants of us, it'd probably be bad if we, started a nuclear war and, ended up eradicating our species. So yeah, if there's any truth to that piece of the theory, if nuclear war somehow escalated and became a reality, would they then step in? They're like, okay, no, stop. Okay, here, we're exposed now. You didn't leave us any other choice. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
You can't blow up the earth.
Do you think they ever quietly intervene? Like things have been stopped? We just don't know about?
Absolutely. Actually, I know of a few instances where they have shut down army bases that have some nuclear stuff, like their machinery just all of a sudden loses power.
Well, there you go. That lends exactly to it.
Yeah, I remember a report of like you were saying, there was a missile silo that contained nuclear warheads, and after reporting sighting of some object flying over, all of those weapons were rendered useless.
Wow.
So,
okay.
It seems to me like they don't they don't like the idea of nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
That's very bad.
I had heard theories. Now, this is a little bit outside of, the idea that you're going with, but the aliens didn't really come around and you didn't have the UFO sightings before we started testing nuclear weapons with the Manhattan Project and such. But,
yeah, that's true too.
That could answer the why they're visiting us. If it's not that humans are just super interesting, that they see that there's something going on with our planet, from a distance with the large scale weaponry.
Yeah. Now, everything we add to the theory here, to answer the question, why would you visit your past like this? Every one of these theories that we add is the answer is self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another piece of the theory is that something. Now let's tackle the subject of evolution here. Evolution kind of happens to help a species adapt to their environment, as they progress through the years. So if we look at the gray aliens, the short stature and gray skin, if that's their skin, some people theorize that could be like a spacesuit.
Wow, I didn't hear that before. That's
me
neat.
Neither, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because in all reports, they all look exactly the same. So some theorize that, the black eyes are more like maybe best thought of as like a pair of goggles,
mm-hmm.
perhaps, and the gray skin is some sort of spacesuit.
Huh. All right.
But anyway, if we look at them as if that is their actual biology, imagine a world where you would have evolved into that state. I would imagine, with the large black eyes, it's probably an environment with very low light,
mm-hmm.
and that kind of lends, to the gray pale skin too. So, if they are travelers from our distant future, did something bad happen along the way? Did we darken the skies, thanks to a nuclear war? Or
wow. Are you thinking like cloud coverage, or are you thinking? Yeah.
I mean, gas. So there you go.
Yeah.
So are they coming back to, I guess, rediscover their history to see, okay, what was the point? Where did everything go wrong? When did we destroy our environment?
Mm-hmm.
But
It makes me a little
I'm saying,
nervous.
like,
Yeah, it does.
you might ask yourself, well, if we're that technologically advanced in the future, how did we lose, record of everything? I mean, evolution takes millions upon millions of years to, see drastic changes in appearance like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to imagine just how far in the future, we would be coming from for us to look like that. So it stands to reason that a lot of our history would just be lost to time. I mean, if you think back, just recent history, even 200 years back, we have an idea of our history, but most of the specifics of everything it's a lot of hearsay,
Yeah,
we have documents to support lots of events, but the stories of our past, a lot of it is hearsay passed down through the years. So that's just looking at a couple of hundreds of years, what happens when you pile on millions and millions of years?
Yeah.
You're bound to lose a lot of your history. So, I think, that would be interesting to go back and kind of rediscover, your earlier evolutionary state to see where you came from.
Yeah, it's that old hindsight is 2020 thing. What if you really could go change it and fix it? Then, it'd be a great reason to go back.
Yeah.
Right your wrongs.
So I don't know. Maybe they're observing and waiting to prevent that moment where everything goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So for a better future for them, it's hard to say.
Do you think that, they would have to know when it went wrong to try to prevent it, right? You can't wait until, it's happened, it's too late, we can't stop it, Or would they?
Yeah.
Could they go back a second time? I don't know. Now I'm getting into a time loop.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, as we were discussing, if you've gone millions of years, you're bound to lose aspects of specifics of your history. We know the skies were blackened at some point, which caused the darkness that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
But we can only ascertain, within so many thousands of years, like 1,000-year period of when that happened.
Yeah.
So maybe they're on standby now. Like, okay, we visited, this is the stage where we've developed nuclear weapons, the means to blacken our world. So we just have to kind of sit back and monitor things to see when this actually goes down, and then step in to try to prevent it.
Huh. Yeah, I can definitely see the benefit in that. This is stupid. I'm the guy who always makes the dumb jokes, but I'm just going to say that maybe if you have crystals, and if you're Uncle Rico, you go back in time and you win the big game and you go pro.
Talking about visiting our past and everything,
yeah.
A lot of people, if you ask the average Joe, where if you had a time machine that could go back in time, where would you go? And the answer is either some kind to visit, some kind of celebrity or famous person or event,
yeah,
or something, within our history that we know of, or B, I want to see dinosaurs.
Yeah,
I want to go way back. Like, let's see what the Earth looked like.
You ever wish you could go back?
Millions of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a recreational journey.
I want to say that there were certain dinosaur faces that were similar to alien faces. I just want to put that out there. I hope that's not a completely ignorant thought, but
did you see the new dinosaur?
And the skin, if it were a skin, and yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was it named? Not Gozer, but what was the other one?
Oh, what was it? Did you see? You know what? Let's save that.
Okay.
That'll be good news. But seriously, look at the skin and the, just the facial structure.
Yeah.
It's more dinosaur-like than human-like, if you want my honest opinion. But, that's sidetracking.
Well,
maybe ridiculous, but it's a thought.
There are theories, too, that okay, the theory goes that, we evolved from some kind of ape-like creature.
Mm-hmm.
Like we started out when our ancestors crawled upon the land out of the sea. We eventually became mammals and, furry creatures, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that eventually became like an ape-like creature that, eventually became us. So there's a theory about the Greys that maybe that's the later evolution that you get from like an amphibious creature. We kind of originate from mammals.
Yeah, and they from
like,
reptilians.
What if whatever they evolved from, was like this frog or lizard kind of creature?
Well, isn't there a whole nother species of alien for the reptilians?
Yeah, we haven't even got to that yet.
Yeah.
We've just been talking about the Greys. Now
yeah.
There's a lot of people think that there is another more malicious species of aliens among us, lizard people. And the common theory behind that is that they have some sort of, I guess, shape-shifting attribute to them. So they seek to rule over other species by integrating into their society, becoming key leaders in a society, things like that. So, our past presidents and kings and everything, they could have been lizard men that have slipped into those positions to further oppress people.
Wow.
Yeah. They usually are tied to a more sinister agenda when you talk about that race.
I'm going to say that you always hear, I don't know if you have always heard, but I actually read a lot about the conspiracy theories that all presidents were in like this like cult. Have you ever heard that?
I think I have heard some of that.
Yeah, there's
the skulls.
Yeah, that's it exactly. And
yeah,
that could kind of tie into that, I suppose. I mean, the lines, they blur, as we've said many times.
It's a possibility. That's something we'll definitely have to visit later. Secret societies and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
They very well could tie into an alien agenda.
You never know. That's why we're here, right?
Or it could not be paranormal at all. It could just be a collective of all of the douchebags on this planet with all the money.
Oh, no.
Yeah. That's called Beverly Hills, isn't it? No offense to Beverly Hills people out there. We still love you. It's just that you're a rich douchebag and we hate you for it. No, I'm joking. Right. But no, I mean, that's definitely an episode that, an idea that we haven't even jotted down yet, but one we need to. It's funny, all this stuff, it seems like it all kind of leads to something else that, there's so many unknown things and there's so many directions and you always have to wonder, am I sniffing out the right trail? Did I go way off? And then sometimes things just tie together and seem right. And I think that's what all of us shows are doing, not just ours, is we come together and we try to make sense of it as we're all wondering what's really going on out there, so.
Yeah.
Well, it all comes back to what we talked about in the first episode. There is a great unknown out there, whether you want to, call that dark matter of the universe, or if you want to, talk about ghosts or aliens.
Yeah.
Being open-minded comes with the acceptance that we don't know everything.
Right. We don't.
And you can either be satisfied with that or want more, want to seek that truth that's out there.
Yeah. We're never satisfied. Never. So with that, let me go ahead and toss us to another commercial real fast, and then we'll get back and we'll pick up where we're at now. If that's all right with you guys.
Sounds great.
Feels like a good time to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and
I'll be here when you get back.
That's the hope that none of us are abducted. I don't make fun of that as because I do believe it's happened to folks. Just I don't think it's going to happen to us tonight. Although you never know. But let's take a commercial and hope we're all here when we get back. We'll be right back. in just a moment.
Have you ever seen something in the sky at night that you couldn't explain? Research shows that 1 in 7 Americans have seen a UFO, but they choose not to share their stories. We want to hear about it. Write us, call in, join the chat. We are ready to believe you.
And we are back. And we are ready to believe you, says Ryan in that commercial there. Because we are. We want to hear from you. And that's something that I didn't touch on much at the top of the show, but we want to hear from you. You know, if you're not here for the live show tonight, that's fine. It'll go on the site as, we'll throw it up there. And if you have any thoughts on any of this, reach out to us on the website and email at midnightspookhouse@gmail.com. Facebook, The Midnight Spookhouse, and Twitter @The Spookhouse. And if you're already on our friends list, feel free to send us a message. If you're not, feel free to send us a friend request and then a message. So there's lots of ways, and we're going to do call-in soon, and we'll get to you, I promise. So if you got a cool story, a scary story, a good story, whatever, write in, and we'll at least entertain the idea, okay? So, all right, well, back to what we were talking about. Megan said during the commercial there that there was something she wanted to mention.
I thought about this about halfway through our show already, is that I saw when I was looking for a news story that there was an author who was researching alien abductions and has now claimed that aliens are speaking to him, and we're putting this through radio waves, and I'm a little bit nervous that I'm going to get an encounter after this episode.
That's a topic we've sort of thought about already, huh?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just talking about it open you up. You never know.
Well, talking about it on the radio feels a little bit scarier.
Well, that's true. What's listening? It's being beamed into space. No, it's not, but go ahead.
What's the worst of the two? Being visited by the wide brim hat man or being abducted by aliens?
I will say aliens. At least the hat man comes to your house. At least you get to stay home for that one. You don't know where you're going with the aliens.
Fair enough.
That's my thought, but
we were talking before, we were kind of traveling through time, but let's kind of head back to Earth, and another kind of where do these aliens come from theory is perhaps our oceans.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of UFO encounters that end with the craft either plunging into the ocean or
that's true.
Lights hovering under the ocean itself and then shooting up out of the waves and then traveling into the sky.
The ocean is vast like space. There's a lot we don't know that's down there, There's ships they never find and stuff. There's a lot to it.
And that's a great hiding place.
It is.
Playing hide and seek with the humans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the theory stands, too, that maybe we're not the only, dominant species of this planet. Perhaps there's another race that mainly lives under the ocean and dwells there. That calls to mind, theories of Atlantis and
Leviathan
and things like that. Yeah.
So that begs the question, though.
Vast and deep we've only. I think the statistic now is we've only explored like 30% of our oceans.
Right. And then there's the way that, the Bermuda Triangle's always been like a really mysterious thing. I think they've sort of kind of come to terms with it now with like magnetic field and such. But what does that say? Are there other spots where magnetic field plays a huge role and like it does, how like spirits will use energy, they'll draw energy to manifest, maybe aliens are attracted to certain things where, maybe, I don't know, maybe they planted them there. I'm not sure, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's mysterious things about Earth and a lot, like you say, with the ocean in general that we don't know that could be causing a lot of things that we'll find out about in the next few years as they continue to dive.
So on that note, what is the significance of the triangle, of that shape specifically?
Back to the pyramids, man.
Yeah, look at the pyramids. There are all kinds of triangles and shapes like that all over the world where
Illuminati
mysterious things happen. I apologize, I can't remember the name of this specific triangle, but up north, the state of Maine, there's a triangle, and there's been all kinds of within this triangulation, there's been all kinds of paranormal happenings, everything from ghosts to cryptids and UFO sightings. Like when you find this, this is the Bermuda. They say things like, "This is the Bermuda Triangle of this area."
Mm-hmm.
This is the Bermuda Triangle of Arizona. There are places, within these triangulations that are hotspots of paranormal activity. So, what is it about the triangle that?
Yeah, it has to mean something. You and I actually spoke earlier, and I think you were going to go into it, how the quantum computers and how they would potentially speak and like mathematic algorithms and things like that. Things like the triangle play a pretty pivotal role.
Before we switch into that, can I just make a comment about the oceans?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think it begs the question, if there's something living in our oceans that can take their crafts out of our oceans, is that something that originated here on Earth, or is that something that came there and chose that as their hiding place? Because if you've looked into supposedly the theory that the asteroid killed the dinosaurs, there's a crater that has been found, and I think it's in Central America, but it is underwater. Did that bring something with them? Did they just stay underwater?
Yeah.
So that brings up an interesting point. If they came from another galaxy, maybe the planet that they came from was water-based.
Yeah.
And that's just like their natural habitat.
Yeah.
So
they came from Europa.
If we touch on the alien agenda again,
or Bikini Bottom.
What if there's a sort of protection deal with our species? In exchange for technological advancements, we get to live here in secret. We're not going to interfere with anything that you do. We just want this section, the deepest part of the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, you humans can't even go there, so what does it matter to you?
Mm.
So if you will keep our secret, we will give you technology. That's one of the theories out there too.
I hadn't heard that one. I'd heard a theory about how people have given, like higher ups have given consent for all the probing.
Oh yeah, they could have done that too. Just signed off. Okay, you can abduct.
Well, to be fair, those higher ups are already probing us all anyway. So what's the difference? So anyway.
So yeah, and that reminds me of the theories of why we haven't visited the moon anymore. I forget which astronaut this was, but there's that recording out there of one of the Apollo missions where one of the astronauts states, and this is a really weird kind of chilling quote, and I can only imagine how terrifying this would be being there on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a recording of this, and he says, we can see them. They're parked on the edge of the crater, at the top of the crater, and they're just watching.
It's Neil Armstrong, and I've got that pulled up.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, from where I was talking about
Neil Armstrong.
Yeah, and he's got quite a few things to say about that. He was asked again about it, and he said it was incredible. Of course, we'd always known there was a possibility, and we had been warned off by the aliens. There was never any question then of a space station or a moon city. And the professor who he was speaking with asked, what do you mean warned off? He said, I can't go into details except to say that their ships were far superior to ours, both in size and technology. Boy, were they big and menacing. Now, there's no question of a space station.
Hmm.
It's funny, you never hear about that. You hear about the moon landing, but they don't talk about that.
No, and there's several astronauts who have come forward and, you know, said, I've seen this, I've seen that, you know, and
That's got to be an episode all on its own as well, because, you know, you see these stories of these ex-military and things who were sworn to secrecy. They come out, and, you know, Ryan and I have spoken about it before. I think the government allows them at a point because we'll all just dismiss them as crazy, but you know, not all of them are crazy. They can't be. We've talked about that before as well. I think on here, they can't all be nuts, you know?
No, and you can't in one breath think of Neil Armstrong as an American hero. You know, he walked on the moon, and then say, well, he's nuts. He doesn't know what he was talking about, you know.
Have you been to the moon?
There. Yeah.
He knows, you know, he knows what he saw. Absolutely.
Man, that's just fascinating.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and then we as a country are taught to overlook such things, you know. It's not happening, you know. Nobody sees stuff like that, you know. Of the very few who have ever been, it's not uncommon for us, you know, to notice things. I mean, we're learning new things every day, so why is it such a stretch to think that there's still more, you know? And then we have all these examples, and we have all these people talking about it, but it's like, you know, they don't want us to listen. We're not supposed to believe it, but we do.
I think
yeah,
the best strategy, you know, for the government to take on hiding things like this is the best place to hide something is out in the open.
Plain sight. That's what they say.
Just let everybody assume that everybody talking about this stuff is just insane or looking for attention or what have you. Because I think if the government tried to make a conscious effort, like, okay, we got to hide all this stuff, we got to, you know, put measures in place to keep people from talking and all this, you would see a lot more whistleblowers, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this also ties into a lot of theories are out there about media in the, you know, they introduce things to us to make us more comfortable with them, like all the aliens in movies or Star Trek, you know, stuff that came out way back then to try to, you know, dip your toe in the water so it's not so shocking once you find out it's real, because you've already, you know, fallen in love with Captain Kirk, who's been everywhere in the galaxy. And
right.
I think another reason, like, you know, there's a lot of people who just don't know. Maybe they're skeptical, or I think most skeptics just haven't witnessed anything yet. I think that's all that really amounts to, because once you do, you realize that there's something else there, and you can't deny it anymore. It's like the door unlocks, and I think that's absolutely why Ryan and I are here. And I think Megan just really likes space, you know, and she's a believer.
I like conspiracies too.
She does. Let us not even go there. Some of the things
you've been on some wild ones.
She has.
I love a good conspiracy.
She goes on absolute undocumented safari on these theories, but you know,
I've walked into your room before to see, like, you know, like a pin board with, you know, all the yarn, throwing all the points together, and, you know.
Yeah, she tries to prove that you know,
things
that Elvis isn't really dead, you know.
Yeah.
He lives in, I don't know. It's your theory, I don't know. But it all goes back to, you know, we only use so much of our brain, and everybody's a skeptic, almost everybody, until that door is unlocked. It's like unlocking that part of your brain that says, I now am sure. But then media, like you all both brought up, it makes you question yourself. There's no way I saw that. Couldn't have. You know, the government, reality tells me that that's not possible. Science tells me that's not possible. There's all these conflicting things. Like, you can feel this blanket, like on the subject, that's just trying to shut it up. There's so many things. You know, you got common sense, supposedly, that you're fed, you know, and then you got the authorities that say, no, there's nothing to it. Area 51, you know, it's just, we're keeping you safe. Don't worry about it. There's this blanket, that they call security, but it's really it's hiding things that, you know, would undoubtedly put some truth to some of these theories, some of them anyway.
Well, and not to get, you know, I don't want to get political or anything, but I think if society as a whole kind of opened their minds to certain ideas, that's not good business, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you have more free thinkers and people questioning,
It's like they live.
you know, wanting, people wanting more out of life and to know more rather than just be this consumer, this cog in the machine. You know, that's what they want of you. What the government wants. They want you to, you know, get your standard education, your standard level, and then go out and become a cog in the machine.
Yeah, produce, consume, have
the money making machine.
That's it.
Yeah, it's funny because I think most of the people who are into these sorts of things they also really dig the movie They Live, and I'm not saying that movie's scientific, but I think it brings up a huge point, and it has a cool set of one-liners by the Hot Rod.
I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, you sounded just like him when you did that. She nailed it.
My best.
But it does. I think that it's people like us who we appreciate that movie the most, and again, it's not scientific, but it really goes into what we're talking about here is,
right.
You know, consume. Yeah, but have children, put them to work. Don't get too smart. You know, just know your role is pretty much, I think. I believe in that wholeheartedly, and that could go back to aliens as well. You said earlier, you know, is it their goal to watch us just produce and never really be dangerous to them? I mean, is it? Are they paying the leaders to hold us down? I mean, who knows, man? So many angles.
It could be,
yeah.
But I do know that intelligence is what really changes the world.
It's dangerous, and it's important.
The smarter people are, the more dissatisfied they become with the status quo.
That's the truth.
And you know, I hate to really think this way, but you know, to world leaders, you know, we're really cattle.
We are, yeah.
The same, you know, as a farmer, you know, regards his cattle in the field. You know, you don't want the cattle, you know, building structures and demanding, you know, better, you know, living situation and
the unions,
and
man,
changing things up, and you know, you want the cattle to just exist and produce.
Yep. Keep it,
and
like you said.
Unfortunately, I think for the few at the top in this world, that's all they want us to be. Is cattle.
Don't try to be anything. Just do what you're told, and you know, sleep, consume.
Do what you're told. Don't chase any dreams. You know, we want you to do your 9 to 5.
Right.
Make us that money. Come home and sit on the couch to consume media.
Yeah. Eat.
You know,
eat processed foods that are terrible for you. Get diseases. We will bankrupt you trying to, you know, treat them, but never cure them, because that's not good business.
Right. So,
oh God, that's just an ugly bowl that you can get into. You know, it is.
God, we're going down a rabbit hole.
We are digging deep. Let's try to take that to another day. So theories on aliens, we've tackled a lot of them, and there's more left. I'm sure Ryan's got at least. We didn't talk about the dark side, the bad guys, too much. We kind of broke off and trailed off again there, and then went to commercials. So what is it about these bad ones? What's the theory on those?
Do you mean
the
reptilians?
Yeah,
the more malicious.
Well, I didn't really know how you guys. I don't know how technically they're labeled, but yeah, the malicious aliens, not the you know, not that we're gonna probe you, but it's gonna be fun, guys. You know, the ones we're gonna probe you and it's gonna suck. Those guys.
Well, there's an interest before we, you know, get on to reptilians and things like that. There's actually an interesting theory about the Greys, that there are actually 2 types of Greys. One has, more benign interactions. Those are the ones, people report, trying to communicate with them, and
Mm-hmm.
the more peaceful encounters. But there's a different type of grays that I think they're usually taller in description, and a more menacing look to the slant in their eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
Those big black eyes.
I thought you were going to say where they were divided by which generation of Bon Jovi they prefer. That's how I divide people up.
Yeah. I've heard a few stories where, they're both present at the abduction or the encounter, and the darker, taller, more menacing ones are usually in charge. Right?
So do you think those are like our leaders versus us? Is that kind of how that works?
That's kind of how the theory goes.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to abductions, I've heard a theory proposed that there's really no scientific purpose to the abductions themselves. Dissection and the implants and probings, if you will. I've heard a theory that all of that is really just for the act of tormenting the victim.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the theory goes that these aliens, are kind of empaths and can, feel another, creature's, feelings. So what the theory goes, in a nutshell, that they are performing these acts to essentially terrorize the victim, because they are experiencing like a euphoric feeling from their terror.
Well, that's really
so
scary.
It's actually like kind of like a recreational drug for them. We're gonna scare the shit out of you.
What is that word that you love so much, Megan?
Get high off of it.
The joy from the pain.
Yeah.
Schadenfreude.
She loves that, so I thought I'd give her the opportunity. I didn't expect you to sing it, but
there's a whole song about it.
Well, I'm just saying. That's a terrifying thing. I mean, we do it as a race, so it wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, and especially if you kind of subscribe to the theory that they're a distant, descendant of us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking on that note that they might be curious about what they came from, like what's so different about us versus them.
So they got to dig in our ass to figure it out?
Well, that doesn't support the torture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just says that maybe in a million years we're still an asshole as a person,
Well, they do like digging in assholes.
All right, enough of the asshole talk.
So if you think about, okay, let's assume again that they came from another galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the technology that would entail, to traverse thousands of light years of empty space to reach our galaxy. If you think about a species that is that technologically advanced, they would probably be able to learn everything about our biology from like a single cadaver, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were that technologically advanced,
it wouldn't need to keep happening.
Wouldn't it take just a handful of samples and then it would, okay, we know pretty much everything about this creature's biology. So that kind of lends, credit to the, our abductions just recreational in nature.
Yeah.
Is it just to torment?
Isn't there some support for mating?
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to that.
I want to say before we get to that I reached out to a guy who's got a really interesting story, and there was, I don't know the purpose. I'm not sure that he knows the purpose, but he had an implant, and it was proven because doctors took it out. It was really there, and maybe in some cases it's not just for torture. I mean, maybe not at all. I know these are all just theories, but what would that hope to bring out? What would you hope to learn from that? Like, if we had, we're like, all right, now you can go back to your planet, alien. We're going to implant you with something, and we have the technology to track them. What would we hope to learn from that?
Why do we do that to dolphins or blue whales? We want to see their...
I was going to say the same thing. You know, when we, you know, let's say we scoop up a dolphin out of the ocean and throw it up on our lab table, you know, and, you know, we take our measurements and, you know, we kind of probe it to see what sex it is and everything. And then we tag it and release it into the ocean. What was that experience like for the dolphin?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that akin a lot to the alien abduction?
The thing is that we're willing to admit dolphins exist. What would we hope to learn about aliens? I mean, anything, I suppose, but we don't have the technology, obviously. I was just, you know, spitballing the idea that, you know, maybe, and then you have to ask, why pick that person? And I know that this guy in particular, I think, asked that question. You know, it's just so many questions. I don't mean to sidetrack.
You know, what if there's some kind of profiling that goes into that as well?
That's what I was thinking.
You know, that kind of goes back to the question of, you know, has there been some kind of deal cut with the government, you know, in exchange for technology? You know, we get to mess around with so many members of the population.
Yeah.
You know, just from your day-to-day internet usage, a profile of, you know, your day-to-day habits and, you know, your likes and dislikes, that can be, you know, Google can probably present that with you now.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, just from your searches and your browsing history and all that. So I have no doubt that, you know, the government could submit, you know, okay, here are the people that are most likely to be labeled crazy or, you know, the ingrates of society. You know, here's
the least credible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you notice that it's never like hardcore criminals of 30 years. It's normal folks from small towns, you know. I don't understand. I would pick, you know, like the lowlifes, and I don't think of folks that way, but you know what I'm saying. I would pick the criminals that have records of lying and thieving, so no one would believe them if it were me. Not that I've ever been in such a situation.
So with that in mind, would you consider that a good sample?
I mean, I don't know, but I was just playing on the point that you're talking about profiling. I would pick folks that no one would believe, you know, and it seems like, you know, you see these people and they look genuinely terrified. It's hard to deny when somebody believes something that strongly. I agree with that too, but if they're only really looking for human, then I guess it really wouldn't matter if they were a criminal or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I guess there could be chemical differences if they're using drugs or something.
Sure, maybe. I'm not sure.
So yeah, that actually brings us to the next point.
Okay, great.
What if these abductions are about, you know, Megan mentioned the like more of a breeding point to the abduction. So there's a theory out there that something has happened to the Greys in that they can't necessarily mate with each other anymore, or perhaps their gene pool has become too what's the word for it?
Do you think like inbreeding?
Symmetric. Like their gene pool has become too symmetric. It's like, you know, when you have, you know, inbreeding with within, you know, our species, the more inbreeding that occurs, you know, the more defects you get and, you know, genetic disorders and things like that. So what if the abductions are an effort to collect more diversified samples to add to their genes to make things more asymmetrical again?
That could explain why we're not seeing little alien babies around Earth. They'll be taking them back with them.
Right.
Do you know about the Moonchild skull that was found? I think it's been...
I've heard it called the Star Child.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Okay.
It's I mean, pretty interesting. They can't say that it's a human skull with any. I think it's undersized, and its eye sockets are way too close together, and they've compared it to every known deformation throughout history and can't link it to any of that. And they've run the DNA, and it says the mother is clearly human, while the father's DNA is unidentified.
Right. So I think skeptics of that story, I want to say that they argue that there wasn't a clear enough sample to collect the DNA from. So you're getting, they somehow got a clear shot of the mother, but the samples were flawed in a way that we just couldn't get a clear picture of who the father was.
Right. Well, that still doesn't explain the size and shape of the skull itself.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things where, everybody's gonna scoff at because deformations and things, but I mean, there really could be something to it. I think it's really intriguing.
Yeah. And that's the biggest evidence I have come across for, intergalactic breeding.
It sounds silly when you say that, but I mean, just who knows? If anybody out there has any theories on it, we'd love to hear them. Write in, tell us about it.
I think we've covered a lot on aliens. We've kind of laid out, over a dozen different, theories on what they even are and where they came from.
Yeah. So if any of you guys have any more theories or you have any opinions about any of these, be nice, but you can disagree all you'd like. It's okay. We don't mind. We don't take it personally. I mean, these are theories. These aren't even our theories. These are just
we're just batting these around to think about.
Sure we are. That's what we're doing. But yeah, so write in and tell us about it, and we're going to do tons and tons and tons more shows, and I would love it, if we could tell your stories. That'd be great. That's one of our biggest goals here, is for this to be like open mic for an audience that will listen to you and care, and won't belittle you for it. So,
and I mean, if you are afraid of anything like that, you're more than welcome to request to remain anonymous.
Yeah. We're actually going to tonight in the we've got a couple of reader questions, which is really cool. One of the folks wants to stay anonymous, and the other wants to go by a certain first name. So we will be glad to do that. We won't share anything you don't want us to. If you want to just tell us personally your story, that's fine, and we'll read it and we'll talk to you about it, but we won't share it if you don't want us to.
So do you want to move on to those listener questions?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do a let me hit a commercial. No, you know what? Let's skip the commercial. Let's pop in a little bit of a ghost story here. You want to mix it up a little bit, since I'm the guy who sidetracks everybody? It's a short little story. You've probably all heard it, but it's the first of many, and we'll have alien stories and things too, probably. But this week's ghost story is the story of The Exorcist. So let's do that, and we'll come back, and let's do those reader questions, and then we'll be wrapping up shortly after that. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Yes.
All right. Well, here we go. Here is a ghost story. In 1949, a boy from Cottage City, Maryland, who was referred to as Roland Doe, underwent an exorcism performed by a group of Roman Catholic priests. There are conflicting reports as to Roland's alleged powers. Some stories claim that Roland had supernatural strength, could speak in ancient languages that the boy had no knowledge of, and could apparently move or levitate the mattress he was lying on. Since then, investigators have called into question many of these claims. providing evidence to suggest that Roland was a psychologically troubled boy who hated to attend school and that his abilities were far from supernatural. In any event, the exorcism took place, and the events inspired a 1971 novel called The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, which in turn inspired the movie.
Spookhouse Radio.
And we are back. That was The Exorcist. And that was an echo, but you could still hear the story. We'll fix that echo next week. But it was
spooky story.
Yeah, it was the story of The Exorcist. It's a very long story and a wonderful story. I mean, depending on how you view it, it's a terrifying story, but it's like the rest of this stuff, you know. So let's move on to the reader or the listener questions. Brian, you go ahead and take the first one.
Okay, let's see. So we received this one via email, and they've asked to remain anonymous. So I'm gonna go with Todd. We'll call them Todd.
Okay.
our go-to ghost name.
Yep. Todd the
So
Ghost.
they are asking. And, they want to know: are mummies real?
As in British mothers or ancient? Okay.
I'm taking that as Egyptian mummies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sounds more.
So,
yeah. Well, I don't know. Are they? I mean,
well, if we look at mummies in the general sense, yes, they are real. You know, it's a mummified, you know,
right,
cadaver. You know,
yeah, but I definitely
real.
believe that's not the question.
Yeah, I think what they're getting at is, you know, what we think of as like the Hollywood mummy, you know, rising from the sarcophagus to walk again and seek revenge. In my personal opinion, I've never actually read any stories of that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually happening. You know, mummies, you know, rising from the dead and wreaking havoc. Now on the subject of you know, mummies, like I think the curse side of it is kind of interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Now they've kind of signed the science on it is kind of on the side of you know, when you unearth one of these tombs that haven't, you know, seen, you know, fresh air for, you know, 1,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
You're actually inviting yourself to all kinds of nasty spores and fungus and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's debatable. Do you think there's something of a pharaoh's curse out there, or
you know,
I guess me personally, I kind of, I guess over the years I've sort of sided with science on that.
Yeah. I think I side with spirituality. I do. I think I side. There was an episode of Destination Truth, and I don't go by television, for the record, folks. I just watch shows like that. You know, Josh Gates went down there, and I think it was King Tut's tomb.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and he got really freaked out by something there, and you know that it didn't change how I felt. I already kind of feel like there's probably something to us. It's a very religious place, and
Yeah.
a very strange place. And the pyramids, we always end up back at the pyramids.
Well, and I always wind up talking about the hieroglyphics that are
Yeah.
there. So there's, you know, clearly they had a lot of technology for their time. They had a
Mhm.
lot of,
Hey, the aliens, right? Well, they were
Yeah.
very advanced. So,
so
you know, and the triangles, you know, forget the circle of life. It's the triangle of life. I mean, it is. It's, I think that, you know, I think to what you said, as far as mummies, they're absolutely real. I don't think they get up and walk necessarily, but I think it raises a great point that there's lots of things in the Egyptian culture that's scares me, man. You know, it does. I mean, come on. That's like one of the freakiest, I don't know how to say it without sounding like I'm judging a culture, but it's just very religious, very, like she said, lots of technology that we still don't understand, you know. there's something to all of it, in my opinion. I side with spirituality on it, so I'm going to go with that. And
Right on.
And what do you think, Megan?
Well, I definitely think that there could be some residual, even hauntings,
Mm-hmm.
if nothing else, because these mummies were entombed with their organs, separate from their bodies, and that could
upset them, maybe.
Absolutely, I was going to say I'm all about the disturbance of the graves, and how that could.
But if
bring about
anyone
hauntings.
has ever been buried with more respect than than these folks, I would love to see it. You know what I'm saying? You say like the body's been desecrated. There's no chance. Like,
well, no, like when you said when the tomb was reopened.
Yeah. But then you think like they had their treasures around and such. Like they were probably fine at least then. But what about now? I don't know. I mean, that's pretty interesting. It's such a religious place too. I mean, say God's real in this scenario. Does that make this ground more fertile for a Pharaoh's curse? I don't know. Could be. There's a lot you could say about it. It's thought provoking, and I think that's why we're all just kind of sitting here and like, I don't know.
That was an interesting question. I've never been asked my thoughts on like ancient Egypt and like from a paranormal standpoint.
Right.
So, great question. Thanks for submitting that.
Yes, yeah. If you have any more, we start out snickering. Sure, Brandon Fraser has seen a mummy. It's definitely real, but honestly, there's a lot more to that question than the surface, and I think that's something we'll take on too, is the pyramids and the hieroglyphics and the belief system of the Egyptians and things like that. I think that'll definitely have to come up. All right. Well, we had another one. Well, we've had a few, but these are the two for the night, at least. And we're going to call this lady Anne. She only wanted to be mentioned by her first name. So thank you, Anne, first off. And thank you, Todd, the ghost. Do you think there's anything to good luck charms? What do you think? Do you think there is? Do you think it's in our head, or?
So we're talking like a lucky rabbit's foot or a four-leaf clover.
Sure.
Things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I've always thought, and we kind of touched on this in an earlier episode. I think the human mind has a lot of influence on the environment and the universe in general.
Yeah.
Personally, don't think that there's really much to the physical object itself. However, I think it's the strength of your belief in it, how much, I guess, faith you want to put into the object, and how much you really want to believe in the luck that you would be receiving.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what manipulates your luck more than the object itself. I don't think that chopping off a rabbit's foot, just makes a lucky artifact.
Right. I'll tell you that I have tried to put all of my hope into luck, and it hasn't worked out usually. So I don't know. I mean, Megan, what do you think?
Well, I have to think that I definitely believe in items with curses or bad luck, like voodoo dolls or something like that, can carry over with bad luck. So I guess just by default, I would have to believe that, the same could work for good luck.
And that was the point I was going to make too, is that there's a lot of haunted objects out there. That's what I was going to say myself, is that, you hear about the objects, ghosts will attach to people and they'll attach to their objects and things. And, if you move, you take them with you. So I think absolutely the flip side is that if, you can take a bad ghost with you, you can take Todd with you as well, because he's a good guy. I mean, good luck. I mean, I think so.
I think that's a great, kind of flip side, another way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
If there can be negative objects in the world, maybe certainly you could, instill an object with good luck.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
so
I guess,
maybe then the question is, are all, let me phrase it this way. Maybe it's not all of these objects are lucky. Maybe it takes, an object that was with or blessed by a really positive person, or, has some experience behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like they say, with like vampires, They say holy water and crosses and things, but you have to believe in them.
I didn't even think about holy water.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good example.
But then let me play devil's advocate here and say that luck and a spirit are two very different things.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can't get luck from something, but maybe you can get a guardian angel, for example.
I definitely have one of those.
Yeah, Megan definitely has one of those. There's 3 times I can think of since I've known her.
So then the question becomes, what is luck?
Yeah.
How do you define luck?
Yeah, it becomes a bigger conversation. I'm going to say that while my answer initially was, well, absolutely, because, you know, ghosts can attach. Think of Annabelle and, you know, the Warrens and things, if you believe in that. But luck and spirits are also different things. But then a crucifix could kind of play in the middle of that. The Holy Spirit and, you know, just you believe that it'll protect you in general. So it could kind of go into luck and spirituality. So, sure, could. I would think so, you know. But
yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of the road and all that. You know, as I said before, you know, just chopping off a rabbit's foot isn't going to create a lucky object for you instantly. I think part of it is how much you want to believe in that, how much true, pure belief you want to put in that.
Well, and how lucky the rabbit was in his life.
Well, he lost his foot. He wasn't too damn lucky.
Have a lucky rabbit.
Yeah, I think what's behind it, be it the universe or your faith or whatever, will play a big role in it. But it's not so much the item itself. In most scenarios, you know, with like a pharaoh, when you Pharaoh's curse, like you take an item from the tomb or something, or again, holy water or crucifix. You know, in those scenarios, there's so much more behind it than, for example, a lucky rabbit's foot, as you say. So,
right.
I think that's where we're kind of have to stick on it. I think that's about all we can. That's really all we can settle with, because, you know, you get yourself talking and thinking about it. You're like,
if you want a real lucky object, I think some time and effort has to go into it.
Yeah, I
some
agree
real
with that.
belief.
That's probably the truth.
I think we pretty much wrapped that up.
Well, thank you again, Anne. We appreciate you writing in, and please write in again if you have any more thought-provoking questions.
Please do.
Yeah, because that was a good one.
Yeah.
Both of them were great. Like, that's starting off with a bang, man. We could do shows on those questions, and we probably will. So let's move to our final segment. We're going to do what's called a final cut. And a final cut is exactly what it sounds like. It is a last-minute hack and slash at a final question that all of us will answer, and we'd love you to as well. And it doesn't have to be under 30 seconds. It's not too gimmicky. It'll simply be the last subject for the night. So tonight's final cut question is, Alien or Predator? Now I'm talking movies. Who would you rather face off against, and who would make a better BFF? Megan, you go first on this one. I don't think you've been first on anything, and I'm sorry for that. Ladies first.
All right. I think I would have to face off against the Predator, because I'd be down with covering myself in mud and just hiding it out. And I'm definitely more terrified of the Alien, so I will pledge my allegiance to that big scary monster.
So in the movies, you still agree that Alien is superior?
Yes.
Okay, and better bestie?
The Alien.
All right.
Because it could protect me.
I guess, you know, it's like keep your enemies closer.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, Ryan, what do you think?
I think the Predator would be the better bestie, especially if we're being overrun with xenomorphs. And I think I'm kind of biased from the Capcom arcade game, the Alien versus Predator arcade game.
Yeah.
You know, the beat 'em up where you can play as predators if you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never played that game, anyone out there, try to do that for yourself. It's a great time.
Do yourself a solid.
But I think, you know, if I had to choose, you know, who am I siding with?
Mm-hmm.
I think the only answer you really have is the Predator, because I think the Alien itself cannot be reasoned with.
That's true.
I don't think you could actually side with it.
That's
maybe
fair.
you could manipulate it into being a force for you.
Yeah.
In you know, against the Predators, but I think if you lost control of that somehow, you would meet the same fate.
True, it'd be dangerous.
I didn't think about it that
They
way.
could dangerously. I mean, you get with friends, it's easier to get your heart broken, so it's easier to get mad,
Yeah.
so you could really piss it off. So,
if we look at the Predator lore, there's been comic books, beyond the movies and everything, and there's been a lot of human alliances with the Predator. Whereas, on the other side with Alien, the Xenomorph is pretty much just a bloodthirsty killing machine.
right.
Like, I think
Scary.
that's why they were created, to destroy and maim and kill.
Yeah, they're the elder Greys, except not gray. They're the assholes who take you just for the fun of torturing you.
Right. So what do you think? What's your answer?
I'm gonna go with, as far as the movies, I think I'm gonna go with Predator. I think I enjoyed it more. It's more action, and I am a horror lover. Don't get me wrong, and I do love the gore and stuff. I just think Predator kind of played out like a Rambo with Predator in it.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome. They're both.
I think
awesome.
they're two very different kinds of horror.
They sure are.
I think it depends. It just depends on what kind of mood you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Alien is always very like claustrophobic and dark, and
It sure is.
There's no way.
it's very. It's a more like cerebral kind of horror, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Predator really, the name says it all.
Yeah.
If you have a fear of being preyed upon, that's what they're all about.
Yeah. True. Who I'd rather face off against?
Don't say Alien. He'll get you.
Yeah. I want to say Alien, but I just can't. So I guess Predator. As far as who would make a better bestie, I was gonna say Predator, but if I could possibly side with Alien and never piss it off, I would say Alien. Otherwise, Predator is gonna go invisible and bail on you and leave you there to be got.
Gonna be a terrible wingman.
I can see Predator, you go over to the girl and it's like, yeah, he said you need to come over, and you both look over and Predator's invisible.
He is the master of ghosting someone.
Yeah, he's the master troll. He is. He's alpha troll. All right, well, that's quite the way to wrap up an episode. We got real serious and broke it down.
I'm anxious to see what the viewers vote on.
Yes. I'm sorry. You're good on you, man.
That reminds me.
Yeah.
We've got the results of last week's question.
Mm-hmm. Lily Munster or Morticia Adams.
Munster versus Morticia Adams.
Yeah.
And Morticia took it away with 71% of the vote.
She sure did.
And to paraphrase one of the comments left on there by a gentleman with the handle Chappie, Morticia's just delightfully evil and seductive.
She is.
Can't be beat.
She's seductive, man. That's it. And Lily's like the top to. She'll keep you in line and cook you bat soup.
Bat soup.
Yeah. I think there's a big difference between the two. And you actually said before we went on air is you're gonna have a piece to say about Morticia, and then it's funny because last week you actually picked Morticia yourself. Or yeah, and I picked Lily, and then we kind of swapped this week. It's funny what a week will do.
I still vote for Herman.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Honorable mention,
But
Grandpa.
So yeah, definitely if you're listening, be sure to vote on Alien or Predator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm anxious to see. That's one of the age old monster versus
Right. Yeah,
at least 80s old.
It ought to be funny to see what happens because 80s old. It ought to be funny to what happens because you kind of have to do math on it. You kind of have to average out best friend, comma, who I'd like to fight or who I would fight out of the two.
Who's gonna kill me quicker?
Yeah, comma, the movies. You have to decide. You have to kind of mix all three ingredients together and pick a side, and that's pretty hard. I think I ended up landing on Predator myself, and I think you two kind of landed with Alien, really. I mean, you were more It's what?
I think I'm choosing Predator. All the
Okay.
way.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then
Just me with the
just her.
alien.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's 2-1
It's a
so far.
terrifying thought. Just me and that alien. Oh god.
Yeah, we need to actually build that poll and go vote ourselves. So that'll be 2 for.
You never know
Predator.
that the Alien Covenant premiered tonight, I believe.
Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there might be a lot of fresh new alien nuts to side with you
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope
There's
so.
on
There's-
that one.
there's no
It'll
Predator
be interesting
out, so
it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out for next week.
it will. It always is. You think you know how it'll wrap up, and then it doesn't. It's fun that way, though. All right, well, that's really all we had on the agenda, and I hope it was entertaining, and we didn't drag it out too bad, and I hope it was interesting. We definitely went off script a bit. That's what you do when you're talking about this. It opens so many doors. You can't not open Pandora's box.
Absolutely.
You just have to, and then beautifully, you create more episodes. So we're going to jot down ideas we didn't have before the episode and, new episodes later. I want to thank everyone who listens to this, from the live listeners to the people who show up later. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to post it on the site, and we love you just the same. Every Friday night at midnight Eastern time.
I just want to say I appreciate everyone listening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you listen live or you listen later, thank you. It really means a lot.
It does. It does. It really means a lot to us. We'll see you next week, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Good night.
Every time it comes around, I see the same old thing. Friday buzzes past and the vultures start to sing. Baby in the water till it froze. Baby in the water till it froze. Ain't nothing new here gonna grow. Baby in the water till it froze. There's an oyster farm up on Coffin Hill. Baby's fine with that pearly pill. She'll shuck you up a dozen while she belts them blues. Just don't